Welcome to Regional Development Australia Perth. RDA Perth is a division of Regional Development Australia and aims to enhance the growth and development of the Perth region by bringing together all levels of government.
Hello, I'm Colleen Yates and I'm the CEO of Regional Development Australia Perth, or RDA Perth. And here today we're going to talk about one of our main documents, the Driving Change document. And we have a guest today, Cameron Edwards, who is the Director of Infonomics. So, Cameron, our document was basically looking after those projects that require new business investment and job growth into the future for the region, for the Perth and Peel region. And what to you is the strategic imperative of looking after some of these things?
Firstly, I've got to say the Driving Change document is a fantastic document, really well put together by RDA and showing the thought leadership that we need in the state, and really focusing on some of the big projects, which is certainly needed in some areas. So one of the areas of the Driving Change document, as you were talking about, is the Outer Harbour. And the Outer Harbour is a fantastic project, and surprised it hasn't started years ago. But I'd like to actually hear about how you started on the Outer Harbour and why RDA chose to lead the way on developing the Outer Harbour project. How did it start with you? What was the beginning?
Well, for us, the Perth region has 29 local governments, and the Peel region has 5. And what we wanted to do was line up the state planning strategy, the Perth and Peel at 3.5, and we wanted to identify what could we take from all that planning at the state level. What were the ones that were going to drive new business investment and job growth? And so we worked across all those local governments, and it took 2 years to actually undertake that consultation. We had a non-disclosure agreement with the Department of Planning to access their information, and we came to the conclusion of 7 key projects. 3 of them were key infrastructure projects, and the other ones were more about industry development.
So what made you change or select those final 3 projects, or the key 3 projects that found their way in the Driving Change?
It's a little bit, at the time we were using nation building, and I don't know if you guys have seen Utopia. It was kind of just...
everyone nation builds these days. Yeah, everyone.
Nation building. So we're using that terminology. What would be nation building?
Again.
That's it. And so in consultation with local governments and the state government, we identified the Outer Harbour at Kwinana as the #1 key project, and then 2 intermodal sites, one at Mundijong and the other one at Bullsbrook, that would then create a proper freight route between the airport, between an Outer Harbour, and link up the north and the south of the states in a much more strategic perspective.
Do you see Bunbury and Geraldton also playing a role in this network?
I do. I think all the ports in Western Australia do play a role. So there's Bunbury, there's Geraldton, Esperance, Broome, and what we need to do is actually link up not only the commerce end, but also tourism and defence.
Because the Freight Logistics Council is doing a report on this at the moment. What do you think their findings will be?
I believe my understanding from what I've heard is that they've been looking at more the links between the inner and outer harbour, and hopefully some of the work that we've done in terms of that Mundijong and Bullsbrook linkages and beyond will hopefully provide some advice on that.
And it'd be great if the federal government releases that $1.2 billion, which used to be for the dead Perth Freight Link, and connect all the way from Kwinana through Kewdale all the way up to Mouchet.
That's correct, and hopefully we've got a federal election coming up, and that will become an important thing at this federal election to try and release that money to undertake that work.
There'll be a big push towards the Outer Harbour, and the state government's done all the work on it, so it should happen next year.
And hopefully at some point in the future it'll also include what we've identified is the link from Mundijong over the Scarp to the rail freight network that then could possibly cut out 200 kilometres of freight link through the city and link it up more directly with the Outer Harbor.
It's not going to be cheap.
No, it's not going to be cheap, but the people say, oh, it can't be done, but it's technically
Everything
just engineering.
Yeah.
It's just engineering. So with the Inner and Outer Harbor, from a strategic economic perspective, what do you think is missing in the conversation?
I think it's muddled between people who are in the operations and want to continue to run an existing asset, and that's fine. But there's also there's people who want to see more economic growth, and it's really two different arguments. And I suppose what we need is more facts to be able to show that the economic development and the jobs, where are they? If we continue the status quo, clearly there's something fundamentally wrong, because our exports, particularly through containers, are flat, and we're having more and more competition, international competition on our grains, and we're exporting our raw materials, resources, basically unprocessed. So our economy looks like, if you look at the exports, looks like it's an emerging economy. So we need to move towards a sort of first world economy, which is secondary processing and more value add. And we're just not doing that, which is a bit bizarre, seeing 60% of the world's population is just north of us, and we produce everything that they want, but we're not exporting it. So why is that? It's about scale, it's about location. You can't do it in Fremantle, you have to do it in somewhere else. And unless there's a better location than Kwinana with 4,000 hectares, then that's where we sort of have to go. It's sort of an elimination of all the other options.
So Cameron, what are some of the issues that you see with that 4,000 hectares, and what are the hindrances in bringing that forward?
Oh, look, it's bizarre. If you've seen international industrial parks around the world, and you come to Kwinana, you think, oh, everything's here. Why do we still have open space? And you can think that they probably set it up the right way back in the 50s and 60s. It just hasn't had a lot of love in the last 20 or 30 years. It needs more. It needs a modern port. It needs modern supply chains and rail and road and grade separation. A lot of little things. Not actually that hard, but it does need the industry and the government to work together. Neither of them can do it by themselves. You need a concerted approach by both of them, and really to develop a normal international quality industrial park which drops the cost, which increases scale, which increases exports. That's what happens everywhere else in the world. It just needs to happen here.
Fantastic, Cameron. So let's take a break and we'll come back.